Juju, explain the premise.
The premise of Tins and Tails is eating fish tins while we do book reviews. We have a book of the month every month that we vote in, and throughout the month, we'd also vote on a tinned fish or seafood to eat with it.
It's pretty solid.
This month, for the tin, is Icelandic cod liver by Fangst. It is lightly smoked and preserved in its own oil, and the only ingredients is smoked cod liver and salt. And
Delicious.
the book of the month, Ryan.
It is Where Late the Sweet Birds Sang by Kate Wilhelm.
I keep getting that title mixed up. Every time I think of it, I'm like, so sweet the late bird sang.
Yeah, my dyslexic ass mind switches everything around, and I feel like coin IRL.
Gabe, explain your purpose here.
So as a person who doesn't read, I decided to join this book club for funsies, but it actually turns out I'm a really good questionnaire person. So I'm here just to sort of ask questions to the people who actually read the book, and I have to make the connections and actually conclude, from what they've talked to actually see if I could, get a good idea of the overall book, which I will never.
Yeah.
Later. We should make Gabe start getting tins too.
I have no money.
This podcast is to start a donation towards Gabe's.
Click the link below if you want me to try.
To donate to Gabe's.
Every donation helps Gabe buy a tin.
They expect like $1,000, but it's actually just the amount of money that it takes.
It's just $15 a month.
Plus shipping.
For only $15 a month, you can help this poor boy.
Eat a tinned fish for the month.
Just donate a tin fish to Gabe. It doesn't even have to match it for what we have. It's just give him a tin, guys. He needs it.
Shall we taste the liver of fish that is a cod?
I'm nervous. I have heard that. Oh, she leaky.
Whoa, that's a lot of oil.
I know. It
She-
just
she
poured
fishing.
out.
Slurp it.
So
This time I
as
was
been
smart and I brought a
Gabe,
solid
shut the
surface
fuck
to
up.
open this.
Oh, not you, Juju. I meant Gabe.
I knew.
You know what? This doesn't smell bad. It just kind of smells like tuna, which is totally Ryan's
Oh,
favorite.
really?
Oh yeah, my 100% my favorite.
This isn't bad. Like, this is not a bad smell. I've heard that this is considered the foie gras of the sea, and it's supposed to have like a pate-like texture.
Jasmine, explain what foie gras of the sea means.
Foie gras is actually, I'm pretty sure it's rendered duck fat or duck liver. Didn't expect me to know that, huh? Yeah, I see you trying to catch me off guard. Go fuck yourself.
I just wanted you to explain it. Damn.
He legitimately just wanted to know, and Jasmine just like, fuck you.
I knew that, of course. Like, damn, okay.
It's duck-related something. Yeah, this is not a bad smell. I'm gonna do a wow.
Okay.
Wow.
I fed far too many cats to be like,
Juju, do a squish test.
Squish test?
we can do that.
Yeah, with a fork. Like, oh my god, this is
Oh,
This-
wow.
this is crazy.
On Jasmine's progress over here.
Dude, that legitimately looks like cat food.
See? You're right there with me. I'm here for the book discussion.
Yeah, I
Just
proposed a
continuing.
10 of the month, and then Ryan jumped in like, let's include books.
Meow,
You
meow
guys
for the
were all
camera.
for it, so what do you need?
This
I love
is
that the first
for the
episode of
camera.
this is getting the origin story.
origin story.
The origin story.
The
Yeah,
origin
this
story of
Origin
pins and
story.
tails.
Shins and tails. Alright, yeah, this is definitely an interesting...
Okay, can I have baguettes?
You don't want to try it by itself first?
No.
Be pairing this with bruschetta bread, garlic, and herb.
Yes, we have chosen pairings for the tin.
We are not sponsored by Danny Wegmans.
Anyway, we get copyrighted.
I'm gonna try it by itself, and then I'll do it with a cracker.
Juju, I will try it by itself with you.
I'm not brave enough, so
Fair enough.
I'm gonna do a tiny little bit. That is buttery though, like just on the squish.
Yeah, dude, that's crazy.
That literally melts. Holy fuck!
Wow. That is okay, I see what they mean.
Holy fuck! That like literally melts on your tongue, and I taste the smokiness, like, right off the bat. And it's got, like, a mild taste. Like, it's not insane.
True.
Wow.
Okay, I gotta try this with the cracker now. I'm glad I brought these crackers. I bet this is gonna be bussin'.
Holy shit.
This is a strange experience for me.
No, I'm like, I told it was, like, very buttery and creamy, but I was not expecting that.
Yeah, me neither.
Holy fuck.
Oh, this cracker's perfect for it. I'm so glad I asked you.
I also enjoy this fish.
Wow.
I'm sure you do, Gabe.
Yeah, Gabe is tasting it through the screen right now.
True.
Yeah,
Gabe, it smells like fish. In case you were curious.
Here, Gabe, I'll give you a piece. Here we go.
Thanks,
I'll top it.
Juju.
Oh yeah, I got you.
Someone cares.
I got some green onions. I'm topping it with that.
Spit on it. Sorry.
I hate you guys.
It was so
Sorry.
like natural the way he just fucking.
Sorry.
Like he was born for it.
Well,
Wrong.
me and Gabe are in the same position. It's okay.
Yeah.
You know, the combination with like the cream cheese and the green onions is really good, I think.
Yeah.
I don't know how I feel about the texture.
I'm getting mixed. Like, I don't know if I could eat so much of it at a time. To me, this is way better than the squid.
She just
The
hates squid.
octopus.
She just hates anything that has tentacles.
I tried it 3 times, bitch.
Bitch!
Bitch.
Even like cooked, like you don't like it. I love it.
Oh, octopus is so good. I want more takoyaki, Gabe. By the way, I want
Me
to get
too.
more.
I really like that place, dude.
Yeah, that place is really good.
It's so cute.
I know it's like a little like hole in the wall.
You can easily spread this with a knife.
I think
True.
you do that is mixing my opinion on it even more.
Sorry. I bet I could, like, make a mixture out of this.
Nuh-uh.
Uh-huh. Make, like, a tuna melt-esque sandwich.
I can see a sandwich for this. But it's gotta be like on toasted bread. I feel like if it was like
it definitely needs that counteractive crunch.
What if you made like some like tuna salad, like chicken salad, but tuna?
I can see that too.
I can't see that, not with its texture. I feel like it would just disintegrate within the salad.
Yeah. Okay.
No, like, not in a salad, like a tuna salad.
Yeah, but just replacing the tuna with the...
Your mother.
Alright. What is everyone's ratings then, including Gabe for some reason,
Oh yeah, Gabe, give us your honest
go
rating
ahead.
since you are a part of this.
based on what we said?
Obviously, after eating a couple of these, the texture was pretty nice, a little smooshy. It was very fish. I like fish.
Very fish.
I'll give it a 7 out of 10. Maybe like a 6 or 7. I don't know.
I like the taste. I like the smokiness, and the texture isn't so bad. But I might be with Ryan on the fact that, like, looking at it is kind of off-putting once you kind of like mush it a bit.
Are you supposed to mush it around so much?
Yeah, you can eat it solid if you want, but it's gonna disintegrate in your mouth either way. So it's easier to like have a more controlled portion the way you want it. You know, it's supposed to be like a pate. You're supposed to spread it on a cracker, like it is. I could definitely see a lot of like options to be made with this that I would be willing to experiment with. I don't have too many complaints. I'm just a texture and visual person, but to me, this is way better than the octopus from last month. So I'm giving it a solid like 6.5 out of 10.
I think it tastes really good, and like I kind of like that, like the butteriness of it. I just wish it had a little bit more flavor. Like
Yeah.
it just on its own, like it's good. It's just it seems to be better when you pair it with something. It's just kind of my only thing with it. So, but I like the taste of it. It's very buttery. It I kind of like the fact that it's very smooth and it kind of like disintegrates a bit, but not in like a chalky way, you know.
Yeah, it's literally gone once it hits your tongue.
Yeah, and I do like that aspect of it. And kind of like you said, I could see it being like mixed in with stuff on its own. I would probably say like a 7.5. With a cracker, it's or like some sort of pairing, it's more like an 8. But I'd say 7.5.
I enjoyed it about as much as I did the octopus last week, which is not to say that it was bad. It was just to say that it did much better with crackers for me. With the cracker and the green onion cream cheese combination, that would probably bring it up to like a 7 or a 7.5 to me. But just by itself, on its own, it's just kind of, I don't know. And then Jasmine kept mushing it up, so it just reminded me of feeding sushi and rice. And it's just kind of hard to get past that for me. As soon as Jasmine said pate, I was like, oh boy. But yeah, solid 6.
You guys are gonna go in order. I did it alphabetically, so it's gonna go Jasmine, Julia, and then Ryan.
That's gay. I'm always last. No, I'm kidding.
Nice guys, finish
Well,
last.
then don't be Ryan. I don't know. Choose an A name.
Okay,
dumbass.
I'm just gonna go Ian now, I guess. No.
Hello, Ian.
Hey.
That would put you even further down the list.
No, it wouldn't. It would be
Y-A-N.
It would be A-Y-N.
A-Y? Oh, I thought you were just removing the R out of your name, and I'm like, you dumbass.
No.
Fun fact, this book was published in the late 1970s, and it won an award a year after it was published.
And who suggested this book?
Julia!
I did.
Julia. So what I'm going to do is I'm basically gonna do start with broader questions and then slowly get into more specific. So to start with, what does the book look like? Do you guys have the physical book?
I don't.
I have a physical
Sure.
book. Forgive the library stickers. Probably should cover that.
Juju, I had that exact same copy too. Like literally.
Yeah, there's different versions, but this is what the book
I had the
looks like.
same version.
Yeah, I got that.
All right, it's a nice cover.
Yeah.
Do you think if you were not suggested this, would you pick it up at a library?
Probably not.
Me, no. I'm very picky with covers and stuff, and usually if a cover isn't that intriguing to me, I'm not going to read the synopsis either. But I'm trying to change that currently.
Okay, all right. I kind of like it. It's very subtle, and it doesn't. I mean, I'd like to have a book that actually gives you an idea of what you're about to read, but like not too much where you make quick assumptions and then not get interested into get interested into reading to the book at all. So it's subtle, but it's actually pretty nice.
Wait until Gabe finds out the details of this book.
I'm excited.
Gabe,
just wait, buddy. Just wait.
It's a
Oh my gosh. Okay,
That was
so
right.
out.
what is the main theme?
Incest.
No, that is well, okay. Okay, there's different themes. I would argue that it's about community, society. We live in a society.
Individualism.
Individualism and the
Collectivism.
need to conform and the need to not want to conform and just
Climate change. I would argue.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's probably the biggest one. Each section kind of has like a different thing that it hits on more so than the other sections because it's split into 3 different sections, and each section is kind of like a different timeline almost.
yeah.
So some of them have more relevant meanings than others. Like climate change really comes up in the beginning to set us up, and then it just kind of that's what happened throughout the rest of it.
So based on that, do you think those themes really impacted the overall story? Like how much did one theme impact? Like what is one theme that really like hit the main plot of the story?
I think it was definitely community and individualism.
Yeah, like the
Yeah.
back and forth between those two because like
The need for balance.
yeah, like it starts off like we're individuals and then crisis strikes and then we're not individuals anymore, we're community. But in becoming community, now we're just fucked. Like one thing goes bad, we all go down. So they strive for more individuality, and then towards the end that's kind of where we get going.
Do you find the author's writing easy to read? Was it easy to read? Was it hard to follow along?
I'm mixed about this. Like, it's not that the reading was hard for me. Like, the writing was pretty good. And she had really good descriptions, but there was a lot of times where I had to like she would describe one thing and it would go over my head and then it would be brought up later again and I'd be like, wait, what? That's what that meant? Wait, let me go back. Like, there was just like a lot of like subtleness where you had to like read in between the lines a lot.
Yeah, that was one of my issues. Like it was a little too subtle for me because, like, I'm not saying things can't be subtle. A lot of like the great white male literature that we think is all the literary canon, like they're written like really subtly in a way, but some of this shit, like when it was supposed to be talking about like sex,
Yeah.
you don't really get that it's about sex until it kind of insinuates more later on. Like they had a whole thing called a playmat that like
Juju, were you also confused about that when that was first brought up, like the
Yeah, because
playmat
they
or
didn't
whatever?
explain what the mat was for, and because they described it in a scene, like when it was first brought up, they kind of describe it in an event that has to do with dancing. So it almost sounds like it's a dance mat, but then you find out later on that the mat was used for a completely separate purpose, and it was more related to sex. But they don't imply that; they just say that there's a mat there.
Do you think the author did that on purpose though?
I
it's
don't know. Like,
it's hard to say for me because at like on the one hand this was written in the 70s, so and this was a woman writing it, so like there's a very fair chance that it's just like something they didn't
yeah.
talk about, like it's not like us now where we just fucking like twerk on television, like they didn't do that stuff in the 70s.
Well, to be fair though, she was a little more descriptive with the sexual encounter in one of the first few chapters compared
Yeah.
to later on when they're talking about playmat stuff. Like, I was confused at first because I was like, I'll get into it later, but there was just like some keywords where you're like, huh?
From what I'm getting at though, I feel like she did that. I think there was a purpose of why she did that. Like if she were to like do it explicit stuff in the beginning of the book and then go into the mat, like maybe she did that on purpose. Maybe she wanted that reader to be like, why didn't you do this? Do you think like maybe I don't know if Julia, since you were the one who introduced this book, did you do a lot of background of the author? Do you think maybe she has something from her personal life that there's a reason why she did this?
Two things. The first thing, I kind of agree. Now that you say that, there is a part where you kind of find out what the mats are for. And when you find out what it's used for, it's in a really shocking scene. And so when you say that, it kind of makes me think that like if that's the intention that she had of doing it like subtly implying it on purpose, it could be to have made that buildup of that shocking scene on the mat a lot more prominent. I'm not saying that is what she did, but I could see that logic if that was the intention. There's not really a way of knowing if she did that on purpose, but it's because, like they said, it's hard to say. But there was a scene that it kind of like explicitly like now you know what it's for, and it was during a really shocking scene for one of the characters. So I could
really good insight.
That.
I didn't think about connecting that on top of Gabe's question.
But also
Yeah, I didn't either till he said something about it, and I was like, huh, maybe she did do that intentionally.
I could see like the emphasis also being taken away from like those scenes because like when she did kind of narrate like sexual scene like that, it was between the two originals, and later on like it's not as impactful because they're just like they're clones of the originals, like it's a different dynamic. We don't really know the characters like we did in the first part. So that as well, I guess.
I think I like that. I like the way that the author did that. Julia?
To answer your other question, I didn't do it before reading the book, but I did kind of do it after reading the book because and we'll go into this later on, but there was just a couple of things I was like, what was the inspiration? Why did she make something like this? I also was just interested in the fact that she was like a woman writer in sci-fi in the 70s because I'm not saying that wasn't common, but it was such a male-dominated literature that like literature genre that I was just kind of surprised that like to see that. So I did kind of did more research on that. One, you find out that the setting was actually kind of based off of where she grew up. She grew up towards like the Appalachians, like in Virginia, which is where the story technically took place.
Okay.
She also like I didn't read. I have to pull up her biography again, but it kind of talks about how like she got into sci-fi. Because it was like an interest of hers. She like read a bunch of like Pulp Fiction, not like comics as a kid and stuff. And I think some of that inspiration, because you can kind of see this with her other novels, because she has a shit ton of novels apparently. I could kind of see that she had taken inspiration from other things, not like in a copy way, but like she definitely was just like a big sci-fi fan, and it was and that's why like her work was just so like of its time. So
You could tell that she put like a lot of research into it too, because when they were getting into the sciences of it, I don't think did we go over what the general like synopsis of this book was?
I don't think so.
That was good.
Where Late the Sweet Bird Sang is a Hugo Award-winning 1976 science fiction novel by Kate Wilhelm about a wealthy family that clones itself to survive a post-apocalyptic world facing sterility and ecological collapse, exploring themes of individuality versus conformity as the clones develop a hive mind culture that eventually stagnates, leading to the rise of unique individuals who challenge the system. But with what I was saying, you could tell that she put like a lot of like effort and research into this genre in general, because like when she was going into like the sciences of like how cloning would work and stuff, and like it wasn't just like, oh, we're gonna do this. No, there was actually mentions of like certain like researches where they tried to clone mice. I think this is a real life thing, but there was like different control groups and how they developed throughout each generation, and their and like if they became sterile when, which generation, just stuff like that. Like that, I was a little, it was a little lost on me, but I could tell that like there was just a lot of thought put into it.
Yeah, same with the methods that were used. Like she put a lot of description into like how they did like the equipment,
Yes.
and like
Yeah.
and like the process and the trial and error.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
And the overall topic of like survival, is that what you mentioned, correct?
Yeah.
Like survival post-apocalyptic. So like based on that, how did that book make you feel about it? Like, do you agree with cloning? Do you agree what their family's intentions were?
I can understand the need for the species to preserve itself. I don't agree with the methods, but I can understand where the desperation comes from considering their circumstances. It was more like, do I agree with it? No, but I understand, like,
How it came to be.
yeah, every species is about preservation and stuff. Like, nobody wants to just be snuffed out. So
Mm-hmm.
they saw a chance, a hope, I guess you'd call it, and pursued it. So with what they had and what they knew.
Something about this one that kind of makes it like unique from other stories about cloning is the fact that like the people, so like they're clones of the original people who started all of it, but they're sterile, so they had to keep doing it until they had like fertility in the generations. And one, that just makes it like a more interesting book, but two, I think that it differs like from my general stance on like cloning and stuff, because this one was a little bit different in how it did it. Like that sterilization aspect is just not something. I mean, it created a need for the cloning within the context of the story, but it's also one of those things where it like kind of impacts like my opinion on it, because generally, kind of like Jasmine, I do see, no species wants to like extinguish itself. You don't want to face extinction, especially in the face of a world that's like presumably uninhabitable. But it's one of those things that like you do it because you want to survive and you want to keep going. But it's almost like, and we'll get more into this later, but like the extension of humanity that did survive differed from the original generation. So like it's almost like the parts that lived on were still different than what was originally cloned. I mean, in general, like I think there might have been different ways they could have done it. I can get more into this later, but I think one of my biggest things was like I kind of wish they would have like done it with more people and not just the family. I understand like it was not like,
To them, it's not like they had. There was some people outside the family that I think survivors or something that
yeah, like
were
survivors
like
in the valley.
coworkers in the scientific field and stuff, as they all like collaborated on this group effort. So there was some variety, just not enough where I was comfortable, especially considering a couple of characters that we'll get into later.
Yeah.
Yeah, but in general, like I think I kind of like Jasmine, I do understand why they did it. I think it's like the message is there. I think the method could have been different though. So like I think there's other ways to advance humanity, and this kind of relates to climate change. I think they should have been focusing on like how to fix that more. But I mean, that's also like
you would think.
you would think. But I guess in the phase, like it almost sounds like it was like irreversible at that point, and it was already upon them. Like there was nothing they could do to it. So like they were kind of like, okay, how can we continue this? We can't produce any more naturally. Like what's the alternative? But I think
Yeah.
that also has to do with the isolation aspect of the setting, because they really were like their
Yeah.
own little like community, and it was really closed off from the rest of the world. So I
And
mean, tying all of that into it as well, I think it was harder to find other methods. I still think they could have tried a few more things before just being like, yep, let's perfect this method. But I know that like with the sterilization aspect, that did kind of impact a lot of stuff. So
Yeah, I'm kind of just agreeing with with what everyone else has said. I mean, I didn't really have an opinion on clones beforehand, like, because we're not in a stage of humanity where we can successfully like implement that. So it's not like I can be like, oh, I'm a human rights clone activist or anything. But within this universe, it was only weird in the sense that like you have all these scientists together and they're trying to figure out, yeah, they're supposed to be like these like really good rich family, but like really good scientists because from the
mhm.
way it was like building it up and everything. Yet they didn't include much outside their gene pool, and like I feel like a very basic thing in science is like you can't have a thriving like species without gene variation. It just like one thing affects them all, and that's kind of like what the theme was. But at the same time, like the realism aspect of that was kind of uppercutting it for me. But wider gene pool, I don't know. I didn't have an opinion beforehand on clones, so it didn't really change anything that wasn't there. So
Well, this kind of poses a question for me, like how acceptable was that stuff in the 1970s?
which I just searched up. Good thing. So in the 1970s, it was actually the first. There were two scientists, which I'm not going to give them credit because it was actually female scientists that discovered DNA, but they've sort of looked into more deeply into it, and they sort of the 1970s was more of a uh, opening introduction of cloning, and that would just spark a more like into the future, right? So this they were unfamiliar with it, but cloning was more upper scientist, like more people with privilege. It was only they were only allowed to do that. And the first successful cloning was actually done on a sheep named Dolly. But that didn't happen up until 19 like in the 1980s 90s. So I feel like during that time it wasn't open, so people didn't really have an opinion on it because it was more disclosed in the more people with more like upper people. Okay, cloning itself, most people would just think like, oh, it's another version of me. Yeah, but like they're not aware of like the bad stuff that comes with cloning, like in this book, the infertility. And I feel like what Juju described is that they were already too deep into cloning themselves and they just dug themselves in a bigger hole and they just couldn't get out of it. I think that's just like the product and the consequences of doing something that isn't fully researched or we have no full control of just natural human nature. I feel like in a way they try to be like a god, be control of their own life.
Yeah.
yeah,
But of course, it comes with consequences when you deal with that in a biological sense. Like, yeah, we have this cool science stuff, but like there's consequences that comes to it, and thus, in the story, they can't stop. They have to keep doing it. So it's like a non-going thing, and I feel like that's they trap themselves into that. They dug themselves a hole where they have to, stay put, and it only gets worse from there.
Yeah, I feel like they definitely dug themselves a hole there because they got too deep into the. I can get the mindset, but with their current privilege and wealth and, their capabilities and whatnot, they kind of took it upon themselves to be like, well, we can, so we're going to try to save the world, and it's going to
yeah,
be our gene pool.
Yeah, I just feel like cloning itself, it's cool. Especially because I mean, cloning isn't just like making a copy of themselves. It's making a copy to make cures for future generations, especially during like in the
All future
70s.
problems, yeah.
Yeah, like it's like for like cancer cells. Like there was this woman who had this condition where her cells kept reproducing even after her death. Because of her, we have a now better knowledge of how cells work and how DNA works and all that. And I feel like, in a sense, that cloning helps in that sense, but not for like the benefit of a person or a family's genes. And I feel like if you take privilege over that, and when the government takes control of it, I feel like it's
Yeah.
eh. I kind of like that aspect of the story.
It was definitely interesting. It's just the internet family aspect of it, and like part of my question was like, I want like, was it less taboo in the 1970s, and that's why it influenced her to write the way she did?
I
Definitely
mean,
less
are you
taboo.
saying like if incest was taboo?
Wasn't as frowned upon as it is now. Not that it wasn't frowned upon back then, but
It's
like
always
in the
been frowned upon.
1970s.
I
Well,
mean,
yeah, I
like
know
It
that,
might
but
have
I'm
been
talking
more
about in the
common.
1970s.
It might have been like more common
Yeah.
in, especially because considering the setting, it sounds like there was a lot of like isolation, and like it sounds like they're in
Yeah.
the middle of like this Virginia Valley that's like in the Appalachians. And I'm not saying that like geographical location alone could influence that. That very well could have just been like individual difference with the family, but I think that's something that may have influenced it as well. Like, and you can say that even now, it's like certain parts of the world, it's a lot more common. And I think in
Hmm.
like between the time frame, the location, it might be more prevalent in this just because of like those two aspects. So
I kind of like the story so far. I like the whole concept. I like the scientific aspect of it.
yeah.
That's
Like
fair.
as a person who's like into biology, I actually take a lot interest in that kind of stuff and
Yeah.
seeing how like people's actions do have consequences, and especially when they play in the hands of God or
Hmm.
nature. Just to wrap it up, so like after reading it and after knowing a little bit about the author, in a few words, can you describe how well you like the author's writing?
From a 2025 standpoint, I feel like some of it fell flat on me, but I also went into it reading it trying to be in the view as someone from like the 1970s, or around that general time. Like I did appreciate some aspects of it. It's just I feel like it doesn't hit fully as hard or had as much of an impact on me as it could have. But I was still able to recognize and acknowledge certain aspects of it that I can appreciate and put more thought into.
I could probably say the same thing. I think it's very like a lot of aspects are very like of its time, and I do see like at the time why it was more critically acclaimed because of how the different themes alone, like the way it explores things. I could definitely see where people back then, like it definitely fit into that sci-fi genre. It raised questions, kind of like we were talking about earlier. I can appreciate the difference in, because I don't know back in the 70s what different books and stories did with cloning, but I can appreciate the difference in this one and like the author's own like take on it and their own like creative inspiration for putting it into this book. Overall, like the writing style, it was very easy to read, kind of like Jasmine said. It was more just like these bigger concepts that it didn't really explore in the book itself. It's kind of like one of those ones where it gives you like the basis of it, and you almost have to like take it with you to think about later. But I mean, you could definitely kind of like tying into our earlier discussion, you could see where the inspiration of like their current knowledge on technology, their current knowledge on environmental change, their current knowledge on biology, like the different aspects that they only had at that time are definitely influenced in this writing. And I can like appreciate like the combination of like what they knew then and what she kind of was like putting in her own like imagination for and creativity into the
Yeah.
story. So it's of
Yeah.
its time, but like I think there's certain aspects that it made it like different enough that you could still like think about later on. So
Yeah, I kind of agree. Everything that I was gonna say has pretty much been brought up, but I think she's just kind of a very neutral for me. Like, I don't know if I would read any of her books again. Maybe if it came into my view and it had like a good plot, I guess. Like, I'm not saying this one was bad. I'm just saying like it could go either way. It just depends on what the mood is. She's just very neutral for me. So everyone's already pretty much said it. So
Now we're gonna sort of go into like the basic book talk questions. So the first one is, who was your favorite character and why?
So let me preface by saying that there were several characters, and there was maybe like 4 and 7 that were kind of a main focus in their own times and aspects. So there was 3 sections of the book, and each section had a different point of view. So in the point of view in the first section, you have a guy named David. He's one of the like he's someone that grows up to be a scientist, in his wealthy family with his own path and his own goal. Growing up, him and his cousin, Celia, fell in love.
Yo.
They did not act on that until later on when the world was going to shit. I mean, there's this point where she was like, I have to go do my own research. I have my own path I want to follow. I can't pursue this. We can't see each other again. And David was like, no. Uh, and I was like, dude, she's your cousin. Do not be that distraught. Come on. Obviously, she kind of comes back around when the apocalypse is happening, and then you got their grandpa and a few other family members involved in regards to starting the cloning process and trying to keep humanity striving for whatever may come. Uh, didn't I didn't really like anyone in that first part, just because, I mean, not a fan of incest. I'm pretty sure everyone can say that.
Obviously.
Which was acted upon once they had their reunion. The grandpa was okay. I didn't really have any, intense feelings about him or anyone else. I didn't like David, especially more towards the end, because right before the cloning became fully successful, Celia died from a sickness that she had picked up, 1 or 2 years prior. And he kind of went into this depression or whatever, but that was kind of a
Depression arc.
Yeah, depression arc. And there was kind of this turning point where the cloning was successful. Like, all of the babies were born out of their cryotubes or whatever that they were growing in. They were premature, but they were born, and they lost a handful out of so many. But it worked. And some of those clones were of Celia, and I kind of got a weird feeling when he was looking at one of the Celia clone babies, and I was like, I hope you're not thinking what I think you're thinking. Then it got to a point, it kind of skipped around in time during that first part where the clones were growing up. Okay, so each clone person had, a set of 3. So there was Celia 1, Celia 2, Celia 3. He was just kind of, eyeing one of them down when they were only, 14 or 15 or so.
Brother,
because he missed his Celia, and he tried to approach her a certain way, but thankfully nothing came of it because she was like, oh, you gave me weird vibes. So she, went back to the protection of her clone group, and he was like, damn it. I kind of liked some of his inner, monologue when he kind of got outcast after the clones kind of, took over after everyone was, dying off, and he tried to destroy their progress, and they kicked him out. But I did not like David. I just didn't. I can see his importance in the story. Just did not like him. Second part, I don't know how big was the time skip in the
I think
second part?
20-something years, because I tried to look that part up, but I think it was a 20-year time skip.
Yeah, so all of the original humans were dead. It's all clones in this facility community thing that they've built with what they were given the resources of from the past humans. They've built their own community and society and celebrations and holidays and stuff like that. And you're in the point of view of this girl named Molly, who is in a set of 3 clones. So in this clone society, there's groups of certain clones from different ages. So what was her group name? Something Sisters? Because you could be a set of clones and there's a name like the Something Sisters or the Something Brothers.
Yeah, I think hers was the Miriam sisters, because she
Yeah.
had a
I
sister
think you're
named
right.
Miriam.
You're right.
Yeah,
Those
so
Syrian sisters.
Yeah, so she was part of the Miriam sisters. So it was her and 2 other sisters. And basically the setup was she was one of the chosen ones to go out and explore with a few other clones the world, basically, to try to expand upon what they have, what they can learn from the past world, and bring back resources to just keep surviving. So it was her and a few select other clones that were forced outside of their group because they were chosen. Which was kind of already a weary concept for all of them because individuality just doesn't exist for any of them. So there was potential effects to be had when you're outside of your clone group. So this was already kind of like a sketchy situation to start with, like a sketchy expedition for them, but it was important. So her and a few others, another notable one, Ben from the Something Brothers, go out on this expedition with this map that Molly has to make because
She has a memory where
oh,
she
photographic memory. Yeah. So these clones were picked for reasons because they could each contribute to the
journey.
Yeah. And Molly's thing was having a photographic memory so she can copy down everything that they saw. So whoever the next group was that ventures out knew what their surroundings were, what map to follow. And, you know, this journey had obvious consequences on all of them. One of them was just spiraling really hard because they were away from their clone group, and all of them were feeling similar effects. Some of them were just spiraling harder than others. So they do their thing, they come back, obviously changed for not the better to them and their standards. But this journey kind of gave everyone like a sense of individuality that they're not familiar with, and they don't outright say it either, but it's just something you have to like describe as you pick up on it. So it was interesting seeing her journey of individuality, trying to figure out who she was, because when she returned to her clone group, she didn't feel as close to them as she was beforehand. Like, they did everything together. They ate everything together.
They didn't hear their thoughts anymore.
Yeah, like one of their things is like you're basically all thinking the same thing. Like, it's crazy. But she was there was like a disconnect that she experienced the second she stepped out of that, and she was suffering that coming back. But then she viewed it as not suffering and turned it into like, I kind of like my space. I kind of like doing my own thing. But I'm being seen as crazy for having space. I mean, I'll try not to get too into detail about that. I think out of all the parts, she was like one of my more favorite ones because she kind of went through a lot. She and the other person that she went on the expedition with, Ben, had a baby together after she was kind of outcast from the community that she didn't let anybody know about. And she kind of grew up with this baby, which is named Mark. When Mark reaches about 5 years old, they discover that she has a baby and take him away. She also gets taken to be used as a breeder because the community has like a breeder facility, because not all of them are fertile, but they do tests on everyone that's like born and growing up on which one is fertile. They like pick them out and then put them in like a facility where they can like use them when needed to create more offspring. And because she had a baby,
she was a breeder.
Yeah, she was a breeder. But eventually she escaped. She couldn't take Mark with her, but, you know, she told him to find her when he's ready to just grow up with the community as best as he can. And she had a really vague ending.
Yeah.
In her section. I didn't really know what to make of it. I don't know if she survived or if she died, if she found Ben, because Ben was also outcast during all of this. Didn't feel that close to Molly. I did sympathize with her, though. It was interesting to see her journey. She just wasn't my favorite. Mark, in the third part, that's where the POV shifts over, where he's growing up in this clone community, and he's the only one that doesn't have clones. So he's this only individual in a community of clones, which I thought was a really interesting concept. And, you know, growing up, he was cool. I mean, it was an interesting concept to explore in general, where his technical uncle, which is one of Ben's brothers, he kind of has to, like, look out for him and be responsible for him. So his name's Barry. So he was kind of responsible with Mark. Their relationship was, like, interesting as he grew up. You can tell that Barry was kind of, like, breaking out of his forced community mindset because of Mark. Not willingly, though, but he kind of had his own little arc at the end. I just didn't feel like there was a whole lot of character development for Mark growing up. He just kept doing his thing until he was old enough to kind of like dismantle the community and start his own. So individuality could be a thing instead of forced society.
I've actually find this interesting that for the first time, you don't actually have a favorite character because each character is so complex where it's like you're not sure of yourself whether or not to like them or to dislike them. But it's like,
Yeah.
you know, but like, really, is it really their fault that they're like that? They're clones.
That's
Well,
one
I
of
mean,
the
yeah,
things
I mean,
that was
like-
taken into consideration. And I think Mark had great potential. It just wasn't explored that well, and there wasn't a whole lot of substance. It was just, and I mean, I guess that's how stories are sometimes. Not everybody has to go through a development, but for the sake of a story, when you're exploring certain themes, I think it's kind of important, especially with the themes that are implemented into this book. I could tell that throughout this journey of his, he was trying to find the importance of both community and individuality, and he was learning how to balance that with his own inner struggles. And he eventually he kind of just created chaos at the end, found a way to dismantle the clone community, because they were at a point in that time where like they couldn't keep on the way they were keeping on, because the clones were getting so bad to the point no new talents or questions or discussions were being had.
Yeah.
There was no growth anywhere. Like everybody was so stunted in such a shared mindset that like if a problem arose, they couldn't fix it because they didn't know how to ask or how to come up with a different solution, because nobody was allowed to be different in any aspect. So that stunted their community, and he exploited that. He kind of saved some of the breeders from the breeding facility and dipped, let them kind of die off, really. And there was a time skip at the end, like an epilogue. It's 20 years down. When this happened, by the way, when he created this dismantling, he was like, what, 1920?
Somewhere around there.
Somewhere around there. And then there was a 20-year time skip.
So he's
and
in his 40s now.
Yeah, he's in his 40s, which is important to note. It's just him reminiscing on like how the community that he started is thriving because everyone's different, everyone's allowed to be who they are and stuff. And then he goes back home after seeing the remnants of the old community to his pregnant wife, who is 19. I was trying to be like, okay, maybe this is just kind of normal to him because of how he was raised and what the community was like growing up. I don't know. I didn't try too hard on excuses. I was trying to be open-minded, but I just couldn't. I was like, dude, you're 40 and you have a 19-year-old pregnant wife. Like, yeah, you couldn't pair up with somebody that you rescued at the beginning. So that kind of made my like for him divot. Overall, I didn't really have a favorite character. I can appreciate some aspects of their growth when there was growth. No one really had an impact on me. They were just more so factors in an overall story.
First off, I just want to say Jasmine totally encapsulated the character analysis just now through all 3 parts. I that was such a good summary of how the character dynamics work in this universe. Great job. Because now Ryan and I we could just be oh, this character, and be oh, this concept, because you just laid it out perfectly. Yeah, kind of a similar thing. I think Jasmine's last statement really summed it up well. They were kind of just felt like characters of an overall story. If I had to pick somebody, I would say either Molly or Mark, but there's pros and cons to both of them. I also thought, side note, I thought that thing at the end with Mark's 19-year-old girlfriend or wife was so fun. I remember reading that.
To me, you could just say you had a pregnant wife and you did not have to mention the age, because you didn't mention your own. You didn't mention your own. You mentioned the age of your wife.
Yeah, I thought that too. I was like, damn, really? You had to put that in there? You couldn't have just had him have a... So that makes my for it's kind of like Jasmine. I was like, oh, fuck, how am I supposed to like him after? Anyways. But I felt like the third part really kind of picked up more, and it kind of made me appreciate his character a little bit more, because like Jasmine had said, it really created this exploration of the concept of being an individual in a community that's literally a hive mind and so surrounded and ingrained in collectivism. What I thought was interesting about his character was that he wanted, he valued his individuality. He valued the fact that he was sarcastic about the fact that everybody was the same. It bothered him that everybody was the same. But then you see parts in the story where despite that, that's all he has left, and it's where he came from. And you start to see that when certain characters die, or he blames himself for certain deaths that weren't intentional. And you kind of see this moment where he still has remorse for these people, even though he hates them and doesn't want to be a part of them. But he still feels this almost not connection, but he's he could recognize the humanity, but also not the humanity in a way. It kind of added this extra layer on his character, and I can appreciate that. he was very chaotic growing up, and I thought like his rebellion I thought made his character really interesting. Like the whole like painting numbers on people was really funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In the second part, I also like Molly, just her art background and her really wanting to like separate and really be an individual. I thought that was interesting. They didn't really go into her character enough for her to be like, yeah, she's absolutely my favorite character. But I guess if I had to pick, it'd probably be either Molly or Mark. But even they didn't have like a huge impact on me. They were kind of just more like plot devices than anything else. But there was aspects I liked about their character that I would probably favor them over other characters.
We just fucking hate David. He's a creep.
Fucking David, bro. Man.
I'm kind of on the same page as everyone else. I thought it was really fitting that there weren't any characters that stood out to me in a book about clones because
that is true.
Like Molly and Mark really disappointed me in the end. I still don't like I don't understand the necessity of the incest or the underage plot. Like that, like you could remove those two little things and the book would be entirely the same way. So like that's just one of my main issues with this book. I don't understand like why you would have to put in the ending. Just okay, you have a young wife, cool. You don't need to put in the age. Up until that point, I thought Mark was gonna have a turning point because he went on this whole like journey. He comes back and he's a little different, except he continues to do like his pranks and stuff. So it just kind of like was like, okay,
just an excuse to write descriptors of the world, honestly.
yeah. That's what it felt like.
A journey though, like I was enveloped in it.
Yeah,
but
like
nothing really came of it.
I thought it was cool. It's just like when you see this kid blaming himself and you see him starting to submerge himself into the community because like he feels responsible for some of these kids' deaths, and then nothing comes of it anyway. He just continues to freaking like, all right, you're falling flat for me, buddy. Like I can't do anything with you. That's you had a cool concept, but you're just not doing anything with it. So that kind of disturbed me in a sense. And then Molly's the same way. I explained this to Jasmine, but she felt for me like she was a good character through the lens of like the patriarchy, which sounds really, really this feminist over here. But no, like she's like, oh yeah, I have this cool personality, but it's not. None of that is going to be explored because this is through the lens that I'm writing. Yeah. A lot of like the language and stuff was just, again, it's from the 70s, so it makes sense like why it was written this way, why the characters are made this way, etc. In like a male dominated field especially, but just she falls flat as a character. She had potential, and her coolest thing was that she ran away, I guess, and gave birth to a kid. Like her whole like existence was just put on the fact that she had Mark, and that was it. Yeah. And she just never comes back again. You don't know what happens to her. You don't know if she ever meets up with Mark again.
He just doesn't even try to find her after.
Yeah, like his whole quest for wanting to find his mom is just completely thrown out, even though that was his whole purpose at the end.
And that was such an important ending to her story.
Just didn't come up again, so that like left a foul taste in my mouth. The only one that I actually saw go through development, and it came up, it was like a really brief flash, but it came up, was probably Barry, because he actually sacrificed himself for Mark. And despite how much shit kept been like throwing in his face, like Mark keeps doing this, Mark keeps lying to you, Mark keeps like walking all over you and stuff, but he's still getting defended by Barry, and Barry's giving him a little harder time than most, but like he's still like defending, he's still acting as a wall for Mark at the end of the day. And then in the end, he ends up coming over to just warn Mark and act as a wall once again, because he like goes up into flames with everyone else. Like he's the only one that actually had development and stayed like within his he's still a character. He's not just some woman that goes in the forest and gives birth and daydreams about like some guy she's gonna run off with. Like this does not pass the Bechdel test. This book falls dramatically short of the Bechdel test, but I feel like the story acts like a character more than the actual characters act like characters.
Yeah.
I think from what I'm getting at is that the author had a wide variety of characters, but she didn't really give them any potential for them to grow. But I feel like she did that on purpose because, again, they're clones. What else do you expect, you know? And in the aspect of Mark, I understand that like he is the only one of himself, right? He has his own individuality. And I understand that like I agree with you why that ending was like really messed up and why the age was mentioned for his wife. But I feel like the author did that to sort of remind the reader that yes, he's individual, like he's himself. That's the society that he was in. Yeah, like you can't forget like where he came from. Like it's a flaw and it's a really disgusting flaw, but it gives the reader a
Just
reminder
hold
like
on, guys.
he may be free, but he's still, a product of a clone society that had no, freedom in a sense that like being different is like I feel like this whole clone and same thinking society sort of reflects in our real world where it comes to like, a lot of us want to be trendy, right? We want to follow the trends, we want to stay within the trends, but in the end, this trend is just like we're just copies of each other, right? The best example I could think of is like, you're in a family that is a very hardcore Trump supporter and you have no choice to follow it. Like you may disagree with Trump, but you have to sort of be within the family to be accepted. And if you were to like come out as different, then you're going to be viewed as crazy, right? I like the theme of, becoming different and it applies in today's society. I don't know if that was a bad example, but like this theme is like common in today's society. Like, yeah, we're not clones of each other, but like of how we live, and especially right now, politics and like different classes and everything, we're basically clones and we just are too afraid to sort of stand out because we're going to be viewed as crazy. We have the power to overthrow the government, but what are we
Nobody's
doing?
doing, yeah.
We don't. We can't. Because why? Because we're too afraid to stand out. We're too afraid of the consequences. From a book that's from the 1970s, that's sort of interesting. It's like, man, even back then, we're still the same. We're still like
Yeah.
a society of clones. I kind of like it. I kind of like this thing though. It's like very interesting, and the fact that the author, again, as I mentioned, and I have you guys mentioned, had so many variety of clones, so many variety of different characters because they're all the same, and she had many opportunities to give them growth. She just didn't. But I feel like that sets an example of like if you were to have a point of view of our society today, that's how we would look to them. It's like you guys are viewing yourself in today's society. Like, why isn't this person changing? Well, there's a
Yeah.
reason why. I kind of like that. And I also like for the first time, like there's no favorite character. You guys don't have any favoritism towards a certain character because they just have so many flaws. And I think that's just the first. I've never read a story that a lot of people just don't have a character and it's just like a story. There's no special character or like main character within the plot line. And I found that really interesting. I never really come across that.
Yeah, the way it's written, it almost, I don't want to say like it almost wants you to not have a favorite character, but the way that they write the characters, it kind of like makes you wonder. But yeah, just the way that the characters are written, it's like hard to even have a favorite. Similar to the things that we had all talked about earlier. It's just, I don't know if it was written intentionally like that or if that's just something that happened after the book was written. So
I know that we all agree that we don't have a favorite character, but like, is there any character that you wish you could give advice to, and what would you tell them? Mark, stop staring at little girls.
Mark, don't look at her. She's underage.
The only thing I can really think of is for Mark, where I think he had trouble distinguishing liking being alone, but not liking feeling lonely. So I would like to tell him that difference and it's okay to experience both. That's the only thing I can really think of. I don't. Everyone's a fucking clusterfuck.
Yeah.
kind of hard
I'll let you
question.
finish. I'll let you finish chewing. I want you to choke.
Choke.
Yeah, it just ends with me dying.
Here, I'll let Ryan go, and then you can finish chewing.
What sort of advice would I don't know. Like, I feel like if you were to give any of the clones advice, they would just be like, well, you don't know anything because you're not a clone. So, like, why should we even
You're-
take your advice?
Yeah,
So you're an individual, and we literally think you're the worst thing on the face of the
This
planet.
guy's different.
You're alone.
Look at he has no clones. He's in by himself. What a
Fucking
fucking loser.
dweeb. Yeah, so like I don't know, maybe say something to like Barry, give him more fatherly advice because
Yeah.
I didn't want him to see go up in flames at the end. I kind of thought he was gonna go along with Mark, but then he didn't. So
I think he looked after him the way he did because that Mark is an extension of his brother, and maybe he missed his brother, but they kind of aren't allowed to after a certain point. They have like one celebration, and then
that's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess something along the lines of that. But honestly, the only realistic people you could give advice to are the ones who are individuals, and they might take it, but most of them are so fucking like headstrong in their ways. Like
Yeah.
humans were just one way or the highway, and that's how it went.
Oh man, kind of a not a great answer for this, but I guess the advice I would give is maybe to Mark and maybe just like encouraging him to like. I feel like his journey where he kind of like goes beyond, like maybe doing like just not going back. I mean, I know that he couldn't like not go back because that was like part of like the whole plot and part of his character development, or kind of character development, if you can call it that.
Stagnant.
Quote unquote. Character development in a trench coat.
He started going, boop.
Yeah.
Yeah, literally.
Like, never mind.
I don't feel like it anymore. Running out of chapters.
Yeah, literally. Oh, actually, I have a better answer for this. Maybe encouraging him more to do things that he did before he joined the community, like maybe making more art or doing things that really are more individualistic. That reminds him not just like of things of like Molly, but just like things he did before he was forced to be like taken away, to kind of remind himself like
where he came from.
He is and where he came from. Probably more of that.
This is gonna be like a final question based on like just characters. Knowing that you guys have conflict of liking a character, having a favorite character, and overall plot, if this wasn't a book club read that you had to finish, how did the author still like maintain your attention?
You know, that's an interesting question considering I started it and finished it in one day. Honestly, just the whole premise really interested me, and I was curious to see how far she wanted to go in this book, and she definitely stretched out there.
She met my expectations.
She
went places.
I was curious about, because individuality and community and society and conformity and all that, like there's such like contrasting topics while also relating to each other in such a unique way, and just seeing that explored upon was interesting to me. I wanted to see how it ended compared to how it started. How I started, I wasn't expecting that ending, honestly. Like every section was new to me, every chapter I just kind of wasn't really expecting after what I previously read. It was engaging in the sense that it was kind of bold to me, but also
in a weird way.
Yeah. It was bold, and I was also confused at some parts, so part of me was like, okay, maybe this question will be answered later on if I just keep reading. Maybe this will solve itself. I don't really know how else to put it. I read it in a day. It was engaging enough for me to do that. Yeah, it is something.
Kind of similar to Jasmine, the premise was interesting enough to, one, capture my attention, which is part of the reason I recommended it to begin with. I thought the whole like post-apocalyptic, like environmental disaster part was really interesting. And they did touch on that. It kind of laid like the setting of the book and stuff. I think the book was engaging enough in like, kind of like how Jasmine said, where it was like bold, but it's still like, it always seemed to be adding onto itself, and it just kept getting deeper and deeper. Like it insisted upon itself in a way that it was still engaging. There was just like certain, in like a weird way, but like it did it in a way where it's like, what the fuck, you just introduced this, like what are you gonna do with this, like where is this going? But yeah, I think that those two aspects definitely made it a lot more engaging to read. Like the way she wrote it, the way that it just kept like advancing onto itself, kind of like the society and advancing itself and alongside with it. I think that made it engaging enough to read, and just like the sci-fi elements I thought was really interesting. And I was like, oh, like what is going to happen? And I like, is anything ever going to change? Kind of seeing like how it develops over time, I think was enough to keep it engaging. So
I definitely agree with Juju for like the timeline aspect. That was probably the biggest appeal, I think, for the book, because if you make really flat characters, you got to do like the other two things right, which is just like the setting and the plot, which I think it did fine with like the setting and the plot. It didn't have like hooking enough of characters to, grasp you in a certain timeline and make you feel bad that we're continuing to move on. Originally, my interest in it was pretty high because I like post-apocalyptic like stuff like this whole genre is up my alley. And then I read the first part and I was like, you know what? I'm not liking this post-apocalyptic setting. It definitely got
I'm
better.
already getting some juicy parts, and then they
Yeah.
take it away from me.
It definitely got better after the first part, like significantly better for me after the first part. I think like the world building and everything else, and along with like the timeline aspect, that kept interest as well, because like when the clones were just off exploring, I just wanted to see what the fuck was going on with the rest of the world at that point. Like I was like, okay, you guys have your own little problems here, but you venture off. Like I just want to see what's going on with the world. Like the
That's
whole
Mark's journey it was so fun to read. Like it was just
whole Mark's whole era was just interesting to read in the aspect of just like the
radioactivity.
The
radioactivity part's really interesting.
That was like really
realistic but cool nonetheless.
Yeah.
14 doing all this too.
Yeah.
That was crazy to me.
Just like the world building around that and like the timeline, that definitely kept me engaged. I was at rock bottom with the first part, so for me it can only go up, and it went up. It kept me going from that. So
I feel like just hearing from the discussion itself, I've got a pretty vague picture of the overall plot and the characters. And you guys are right. I never would have expected this kind of story. I'm just wondering and curious how the title itself sort of fits into this. I know like it could be like a figurative kind of way of saying it, but like is there any actual word that's saying like what? I was thinking of like maybe I'm just getting vibes, like title vibes to like How to Kill a Mockingbird. Like there was no fucking Mockingbird. I mean, maybe there was. I didn't pay attention.
I can't remember.
I didn't read it. even if it was assigned to me, I didn't read it. But like I just want to see how the title correlates. If I actually did read it, I would be sort of agreeing with you guys being hooked, only because I'm wondering where the author would like take this, especially in a society like this, post-apocalyptic, or whatever. This, definitely like mostly just curiosity. I think would just drive me into like knowing more about how is this going to advance? Like, is this cloning thing still going to be a thing? Is there ever going to be a society with true human characteristic? You know, is there ever going to be like anything that defines a human, you know, like having a soul, the creativity, emotion, like all those clones lack of those. And it's just like, you're just wondering, I don't know, like,
where do you go from there? It's like,
what makes a society what they think? Like what makes a society like it's just I don't know, you need those elements, and you're just curious how it's going to happen with this clones if everyone thinks the same. And I don't know, I just don't like the way that also at the start of this I was just fully convinced that all the clones did not have any fertility. I did not know that some of them actually had the genetic
it was like a handful of them. Like they tested each one like growing up.
That was part of
if they had fertility, they would take them.
That was part of the mat. That was part of the mat thing. Like they had a whole ceremony for the mat, and then they would like pair up and fuck to see
bringing a coming of age. So yeah, they have like this coming of age ceremony where if a set of clones reach the age of 13 to 14,
somewhere around there,
pretty young, pretty foul. It's this whole gathering of clones, and then the coming of age clone sets. Basically, the older ones, if they were interested in partaking in the coming of age set of clones, they would like exchange bracelets, which meant like, hey, we're gonna go fuck.
Yeah, there would be like orgies and everything.
Literal orgies. It wasn't explicit, except for that one part that Juju had mentioned before, where Mark was part of a coming of age ceremony, but he was off to the sidelines, like, ugh. But he found someone, and then he had like an adult op for some fucking reason. He was the only individual in a clone society, so it was for a reason. Where the chick he was interested in.
Oh my god, I hated this section.
I did too.
Oh my god, it was awful.
He walked in on the chick being part of an orgy of other clones on the mat. So,
by the way, the subtle wording that we were talking about earlier also refers to this scene specifically. Yeah.
Potential trigger warning.
The whole time up until this point, it's like narrating how Mark and this chick are having like consensual sex all the time. Like they keep like hooking up because it's fun, and you know they like the feeling of it.
Love,
yeah. Only for it to be later on that this woman was like going to one of the uncles and talking about how Mark wouldn't like beg her to stay and stuff. But it's not narrated like that. And it's told in the way where it's like, are we not supposed to trust the narrator or Mark?
Yeah.
Because like there's too many perspectives that it shifts around to just be focused on Mark. It was never narrated in a weird way, so it makes me feel weird when all of a sudden I'm sympathizing for him because he's upset when she just wanted some alone time apparently, and it was never implied whatsoever.
Yeah, the way it was like worded, it sounded like he was like low key forcing her to spend time with him because he had lost his virginity and then he was addicted to
but there's
keep up with that.
There's no implication up until that point where it gets revealed that the girl went to the uncle. So like the subtle wording with that, it's like, okay, maybe I missed some signs, maybe I'm just too autistic to pick up on the sexual assault here, but like I didn't see it at all until that point came in, so that was annoying.
The author sure did. Like, she was very creative in writing that then. I'm just...
Yeah.
One word to say it.
The mat play itself was so subtle to me because when it was first mentioned, it was in Molly's section when it was just kind of describing the society and leading up to the day before she had to go out on that expedition where all of her sister clones were celebrating with her, and then like it ended with like, oh, they played with me and delighted me on the mat, and I'm like, what do you mean by that? But it wasn't really explored upon, but there was like more subtleties throughout the book about the mat. There was one mention that was kind of funny to me because there was a section where like Mark did have his own room living with Barry, but then like because of Mark's antics, like they kind of had to like share a room, and then there was like some inner monologue from Barry where he was like, yeah, out of respect, I can't bring out the mat with the kid around.
Oh my god, I forgot about that part.
That part kind of just made me laugh.
I took an anthropology class last semester, and I sort of had like a very broad idea and being introduced of like what makes a society, what makes a culture, and I feel like this story sort of contradicts everything what culture and society is, because society is all about it. Yeah, it's all about individualities and coming together in a group, and it's like that's not what a society is. And to the clones, like, we're a society. We think the same. We are the same.
We are one.
We are one. It's not what a fucking society is.
We're gonna say we are all because we don't believe in ones.
Yeah.
I don't know. This is a very, very interesting book, and that being said, it's like, I'm still curious on why the fuck it's called this.
You said that, and I'm like, you know what? You're kind of fucking right. I feel like the whole title itself might have been mentioned in the section, but I can't fucking remember. Like a book title within the book?
I have two guesses, which my first guess is it has something to do with like clones waking up late in their life. That's my first guess. My second guess is it has something to do with like Mark's section and how he kept like talking to the forest in a way. Yeah. Like when the clones separate themselves from the other clones, they can hear like the forest around them, so maybe it has something to do with that. Like they're becoming late into themselves, and now they're finally like singing to the birds around them, but it's just like the forest noises. I don't know.
I just feel like like I mentioned before, I never fucking read the How to Kill a Mockingbird, but I was just like, was there ever a fucking mockingbird?
Was there a mockingbird?
No, I think that was supposed to be like a
metaphor
for yeah.
I do have a question for you too. It was kind of a decent part of the section in the first part of the book where the grandpa is talking about the great white oak or whatever, how it's seen everything before them and it's going to keep seeing stuff ahead. Wasn't there a point at the end of the epilogue where Mark had his hand on like an oak tree? Is that the same oak tree, you think?
I am assuming so. Otherwise, I feel like it would be a stupid mention if it wasn't.
Yeah, if it didn't have significance like later in the story.
Like, it came up a few times in the story, but it didn't specifically name it.
Yeah, it wasn't
they
like
would go up
out
in the general area, yeah, and then the ending.
They were everywhere all the time, so I'm like, is this the oak? Is this the oak?
No, I'm pretty sure it's supposed to circle back to the thing, but that just felt like a loose tie to the back, the first part, which I still have a huge problem with the first part. It feels so disconnected for the rest. Like, it feels like I read an entirely different book and then started reading the second one. That's not related to your question, sorry.
Oh, Gabe, to mention, there were some parallels with the clones because you had David and Celia, the cousin fuckers. Yeah, it keeps up because Molly is a clone of Celia and Ben was a clone of David.
Yeah, so and then they fucking
And they
have
had
a kid. Like that comes up at the end.
They get to live on.
Yeah, it's almost like they get to live on their full life if Celia hadn't died.
Celia died, and I was like, oh, thank God.
And then it just kept going.
And then it got worse.
The fact that
when
they
the
all
Celia clones were mentioned, I was like, oh no.
The fact that they all refer to themselves as sisters and brothers, and then they
Yes.
still hook up with each other is weird.
All right, I do not have any additional questions because I feel like we did do a really deep discussion
solid.
regarding relatively because of how short the book is and how like plot itself and characters we all sort of share the same idea. I do not have any other questions, but if you guys like to ask some additional questions, go right ahead.
Y'all have any questions?
Gabe, is this the book you would read?
Honestly, I think so. Only because I like the biology aspect of it.
I think you would really like the first section, not for other parts, but like explaining how the cloning would work in their experiments. I feel like you would really like that part because they go into detail with it.
I'm not saying this because I'm a major in biology. It's just but I'm just like.
Gabe, by the way, are you perchance majoring in biology?
I don't think he is.
I am actually.
Well, you should major in biology.
Gabe, have you considered majoring in biology?
Maybe. Actually, but I feel like because in that sense, for me, I really like science fiction. When authors sort of implement outside science stuff and they actually do their research, I give my appreciation to them for them to actually look into it. And I actually like the fact that she, as you guys mentioned, contributed the sort of background on how clones, on how the process is with cloning. And I think I'd like to read that. The plot itself, yes, it's very complex. The characters are complex, but I like that complexity because you never really come across a book like this where you don't have favorite characters and where like you're not really one-sided or you're not on either side. You know, it's like it's a book. They're characters. You're gonna read it, and here's the story. And it's like reading a newspaper. It's already happened. You can't change it. You can't really side on anything. And I feel like that's very rare. So far, the books that I've read, the very minimal books I've read. I've always had the concept of, there's always going to be one side. There's always going to be a character that you're going to be with. And hearing this discussion, I'm surprised that books like this actually exist. And I'm just surprised. And I never knew this type of theme was like, I don't know if it's common or not, but if it's like, I never knew this actually existed. I'll give props to that. I'll give props to this book. I don't know. I just feel like female authors, I don't know. I feel like I like them a little bit better only because
that's completely fair.
Especially during the 1970s, she's very
But
like
you mean
anything
you don't
that
like it with boobs, boobly?
I don't know. I feel like
a breast McGee.
Her nipples snap off her shirt.
That's literally how dudes write chicks too.
I just feel like because the author is female and she really focused on having the male character at the end date a 19-year-old, I wonder what she's sort of thinking.
What were you thinking, Kate Wilhelm?
I'm pretty sure those age differences were normal-ish back then.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say too. Like maybe,
I know, but to them now, or like to them back then, 19 is an adult. It's free game after that for them. Like
the whole Leonardo DiCaprio effect.
Yeah, and it's like
older than 23. Bye.
And it's like you're just there to question, like, is this because of her or her background of like maybe the way she was raised, or
wondering about like certain influences and stuff.
Yeah, that was part of the reason after I read this, I looked up like where, what was the inspiration? I was like, damn, did she like go through some shit or like I felt so bad thinking that, but I was like,
what motivated you?
What motivated you to make this
happened in your childhood? What's wrong with you? Why are you like this?
Get a response from Kate Wilhelm that's like, why are you
alive?
I don't know.
I'll look this up.
I just like how like she takes the overall concept of the downside of being cloning, even though like there was very little, like what Juju mentioned, there was very little of what they knew back then, especially in the 1970s, since it was just like recently new. And for her to take that very little of what she knew into a concept, like she's very smart on the downside of cloning. And like this was the only solution, and we were ever in an apocalypse. If this was the only solution, I feel like she gave a really good example of like what could happen
yeah.
if we continue to clone ourselves. The more we continue, the more lack of human emotions we're gonna develop, and like you said, it's just gonna end up in total chaos. I kind of like it. I like that aspect. The characters are interesting. Overall plot is interesting. If I wanted to read it, I would. But will I? No.
Probably not.
Yeah, I will play Batman Arkham on my new PS Vita.
I will play Stardew Valley and Batman Arkham on my PC.
Yeah!
Oh hell yeah, goated.
One day you guys will play Alien Isolation. One day.
One day.
One day you'll
One
play
day.
Stardew Valley.
Any more questions?
What is everyone's official ranking on the book?
Yeah, I was going to say, like, now that the questions are all done, the overall questionnaire of concluding this book session, what will you give this book a rating?
I give it a 6.5. I was torn between like a 6 and an 8, but I had some time to like sit on it. I'm still kind of leaning towards 7 because I can appreciate the themes explored. And this is unrelated to rating, but Juju, I want to thank you for this suggestion because, I mean, I want to thank this like book club in general because I would not be exploring so far out of my usual comfort zone or usual genre that I like to stick to. And I enjoyed it to an extent because
But you don't love incest?
yeah. I mean, well, I can still like appreciate the other aspects of the book, and I just want to thank you for this suggestion. I really appreciated it for what it was outside of my recommendation, and it is inspiring me more to expand my horizons. So I just want to thank you for that.
Sure. Yeah, thank you for saying that. I appreciate that.
Juju, what would you rate this?
Funny enough, actually the same rating. I was thinking 6.5 because originally it was between 6 and 7, and I'm like, I think 6.5 is a good medium between fucking Jasmine.
6, 7.
Yeah, because like I think we in like the discussion chat in the server we had talked about like, oh, what's your preemptive rating, and it was between 6 and 7. I think 6.5 is a pretty solid like just in between, just based on everything. Because I thought about it a little bit more as well, and I'm like, no, that seems like a good spot to rank it. So
Ryan?
My rating is a solid 6. I've had this rating ever since I finished the book and went on a long-ass rant to Jasmine about it because I couldn't shut up when I first finished it. It would be higher, however, the ending left a sour note in my mouth with unnecessary information that I didn't need, spoiling the only somewhat like decent character in this book who's just kind of just like, all right, thanks, I guess, thank you, I guess.
thanks.
Was that necessary?
Was that really you could have been a 6.5, but now you're a 6. I thought it was a decent read. I don't think it deserves higher than a 6 for me, and I don't think it would have gotten the whatever prize it got.
Hugo Award.
Yeah, if it was published nowadays, just because of the stuff that's inside of it and like the themes and whatnot. But it was a decent read. I don't like regret reading it.
Yeah, I don't either.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't either. Yeah, me too.
Yeah, me
Yeah.
neither. Gabe, what's your interest rating?
My interest rating would be...
And you can be honest.
Okay, this is only because it's interesting, and I think I'd give it an 8.
Okay.
But I didn't read it. I feel like hearing it from like just a basic summary and just knowing the overall characters and what's happening, it's very interesting. It does follow the sci-fi apocalypse, for me. Especially back in the 1970s. If this were to be a thing in the 2000s, maybe not.
Yeah.
Because we're so used to just having like when it comes to apocalypse, there's always like the dynamic of main character. They're the only one. They're probably a cure of something, or they're the main character is always going to solve it. Always going to be like the hero. But this apocalyptic thing, it's just like there is no hero. There is no bad people. There's no antagonists. I mean,
just products of their environment.
Yeah.
It's just the overall consequence of their own actions of cloning. And I think it's very interesting. So I'll give it an interest rate of 8 out of 10. But if I were to read it, I can't rate it because I didn't read it.
Okay. Shall we choose next book?
we will decide on the next book. But first,
On
a
the
word from
next
our
episode,
sponsors.
let's go. Yeah, a word from our sponsors. Are you sick of Durex? No, I'm kidding.
Remember, folks.
Are you feeling
donate.
depressed?
Every donation goes to Gabe's next tin.
Are you a failure?
Anyway, Squarespace. No,
Raid Shadow Legends has a limited time coupon.
BetterHelp is here for you.
We may have had 7 controversies in the past 3 years, but we're still going.
oh shit.
So, Ryan, are you going to be choosing the next one? Do you have like a generator or something?
Yeah, it's my turn to roll.
He's gonna roll.
I'm gonna roll using my new sparkly Christmas dice. Look at that.
Oh,
Yeah.
Ooh, fancy.
very nice.
It's liquid
And it's
core.
liquid core.
Liquid core. Wow.
17.
That's not sarcastic. That's actually really cool.
Liquid core.
Liquid core.
Wow.
It's got a
Liquid core.
17. They only like you when you're 17.
You're 24.
Great. 17 is Island of the Blue Dolphins by Scott Odell.
Ooh.
Sorry, I'm
All right, fellas. I think Jasmine really wants to read.
okay. This is such a nostalgia. I am so excited to read this again. This
Wait,
is a
what's the next
nostalgic-
book?
It's called Island of the Blue Dolphins by Scott Odell.
This also has a medal, by the way. It should be a shorter read, but it's.
All right.
This was our first podcast episode of Tins and Tails. If you didn't like it, and it's not for everyone.
Yeah, it's only for fish lovers
Fish
and book lovers and Gabe.
We
Okay.
we will keep developing a format. This was fun.
True.
This is only our second book of our developing book club.
Actually, I might have a change of course. I think I'm looking at the thing and I feel like I'm actually gonna get this book because I really like historic fiction.
Oh shit.
You would like it.
I really
Oh my
like
God.
historic fiction.
Shit, Gabe's gonna join us
Gabe, I
Gabe's
promise you,
next time on
it's not
book
a
reading.
it's not a hard read. I was reading it in the 3rd grade. No, I'm just saying, it's like
Are you calling me a 3rd grader?
I don't have.
Yeah, next time on Tins and Tails, Gabe is going to join us for the first
Special
time.
guest me. I'm
Oh,
actually
yeah,
gonna read.
rather than being just a moderator, he's gonna give us opinions that he has formed through the book and not through our voices. I'm so excited.
All right. See you later on the next episode.